One of you asked a question that is a good topic for a video because I think this will apply to pretty much anybody who has some money saved for retirement. So your situation may not match exactly and the dollar amounts may be different, but the gist of it is we want things to be easy. So this person will have $600,000 in Roth 401k. They'll get $800,000 of a lump sum pension payout, $2,900 a month, Social Security, and then $600,000 of proceeds after the sale of a home. The question is, what can they do to make this easy? And can they just lump everything in one place and just take income? So this is primarily about making things easy. And yes, some people enjoy managing their finances. They might even spend several hours a week or even per day on these types of things. But other people would rather spend their time on other pursuits. And it sounds like this person would appreciate watching fewer financial videos on YouTube. Plus, there are some real benefits to simplicity. For example, with fewer moving parts, there's less opportunity for errors, mistakes, or just technical glitches. And then as cognitive decline starts to set in, things are easier, and they're also easier for a surviving spouse. So there's a quick answer to this question, but that's not really helpful for everybody. So we'll go through that and then we'll talk about what I would probably do if I was asking this question. The quick answer is no, you probably would not combine everything into a single account. And I think the person asking the question already knows that. They're well aware that there are different buckets of money here. We've got Roth, we've got the pension payout, which is typically pre-tax money. They've got the Social Security income, and then the proceeds from the house payment are generally just taxable dollars. So you could put everything into a single account, but that would require taking it out of those tax advantaged accounts and possibly even taking all of that pension payout money in one lump sum in 1 year and paying a high rate of taxes on it. So the closest thing you can probably do is use a single vendor to hold the bulk of your assets. So that might be one of the Schwabs or Fidelities or Vanguards of the world, where you open up accounts and you have multiple accounts there. Your Roth account, your pre-tax IRA or your rollover IRA, for example, and even a taxable brokerage account. You can even get a debit card and use those accounts for everyday expenses if you want, although I typically suggest using a credit card for day-to-day payments. The reason for a credit card is it does isolate your checking account or your actual dollars from problems. So if there is a bank error or fraud in your account, you've got the consumer protection of a credit card. You don't actually need to borrow money to use those. You just pay them off every month, of course. But let's briefly do a part B of the short answer, and that is that you could have a financial advisor handle these things for you. You could just say, hey, send me $3,000 a month. I don't care where it comes from. And then the advisor would pick based on your tax situation and other factors. Of course, I would say that. Of course, I'm biased, but it is an option. Now, let's talk about what those of you can do if you're not going to hire somebody else. You're going to manage all of this yourselves. Once again, a first step is to pick one, maybe two high-quality vendors that are going to hold the assets. So you want these household names that are strong, have good customer service, websites with all the features you want. Most of you will be just fine using one provider, but I recognize that you may be concerned about having all your eggs in one basket. For example, you might sleep better knowing that if there's a cybersecurity incident or elder fraud or something else is going on that causes you to lose access to your money or actually lose money, that there is a backup in place. And you're not necessarily wrong in that thinking. So you get your accounts open, everything is in one or two places. How do you now take income? Well, this person mentioned 4%. And of course, that refers to the 4% rule, the so-called rule, which is really more of a research finding from long ago, talking about how much you might safely withdraw from your assets to make those assets last 30 years. And of course, there are some assumptions in there. I've got a separate video. Look for that if you really want to learn the details of that. Ultimately, I don't really know anybody who follows the 4% rule, but it is a nice way to get some ballpark estimates on how you're doing. Now, when the person mentions this and they have everything in one place, it suggests to me that maybe it doesn't matter which accounts the money comes from. And I would say it might be worth doing some research and digging into tax planning strategies because it could really matter where you draw the income from. There may be opportunities to take it from certain accounts while other accounts do other things, and that way you might end up with more after-tax money to spend. For example, that pension payout is a nice chunk of money, and that will probably end up in a pre-tax IRA. So does it make sense to spend down some of that account before you start dipping into other assets? Or maybe you want to do Roth conversions, converting a piece of that account each year for a number of years over to Roth, intentionally paying taxes. You pay the taxes maybe out of the cash that you got as proceeds from the home sale. And by doing so, you reduce the size of that large pre-tax asset. The reason for doing that might be that could eventually reduce your required minimum distributions or the amount of income you have to take as you get older. And when you take a lot of income later in life, what can happen is it can push you into high tax brackets, or it can cause you to pay more for Medicare, for example. Plus, by chipping away at that taxable money, especially with interest rates where they are, or maybe you earn a couple % of yield on a taxable portfolio, this would reduce the amount of income you're getting just from those taxable assets and get as much as possible into a tax-protected Roth. Now, this couple already has a decent chunk in Roth. I would have to look at all the details to know if any of that makes sense, but it's definitely worth looking into. Now, I will mention that there has been some research on just taking money out of your assets pro rata, which is kind of how the original question sounded, and the results were not necessarily catastrophic. But with some strategic tax planning, maybe partial Roth conversions, not necessarily converting everything, but getting smart about how much you convert each year, you can potentially do even better. The other issue to think about is that 4% might not be the right amount to draw. Perhaps this person could draw more, or maybe 4 is too much, but we want to look at exactly how much they're taking out and is that the right amount. You might actually sell yourself short and spend less than you could spend in retirement if you use the 4% rule. So some Kitz's research here showed that you might end up with more money than you started with in a lot of cases, meaning you could have spent more, could have given money away or done other things, maybe retired earlier. It was only in 10% of cases that you ended up with less than you started with, which kind of illustrates how the 4% rule was really built for those worst case scenarios. Of course, it is possible that you will have bad timing and things will go badly for you, but really a wide range of outcomes is possible. By the way, I'm Justin Pritchard, and I help people plan for retirement and invest for the future. So in the description below, you're going to find some nice resources about general retirement planning topics, a wide variety of them. I think you'll find that very helpful if you're enjoying this video. So how can this person keep life easy as they take income in retirement? They don't want to put a career effort into managing these things. Well, again, if you have your funds in 1 or 2 places, you can more or less automate some things. That gets especially easy with mutual funds. It's harder if you're using ETFs or exchange traded funds, because you can schedule the sale of some mutual fund shares or a dollar amount every month, for example. Then you can also schedule an automatic transfer to your bank every month. So this can more or less run on autopilot. Of course, you want to check in on it periodically, but you don't need to manage it actively or deal with it every month. You can even have taxes withheld on those distributions from the pre-tax account so that you hopefully don't underpay or owe a large amount or even owe penalties at the end of the year. So this can really be largely automated, allowing you to go and have fun doing whatever it is you want to do. This also points towards simplified investing. So you could do a lot worse than a portfolio of index funds, for example, that sell a little bit every month and then transfer the money over to your account, withholding taxes if necessary. That's not necessarily a bad way to go. So I think it's choose whether or not to DIY. Pick where you want to have the assets, set up a simple investment strategy and automate it, then check in on things periodically, and you should have time to do other things. So I hope you found this helpful. If you did, please leave a quick thumbs up. Thanks and take care. These viewer questions are a bit of an experiment, but we're giving it a shot, so please check the description if you want to ask a question of your own.